Tuesday, June the 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Melissa, could you please do the roll call?
Keller.
Here.
Hedges.
Here.
Tice.
Here.
Pliska.
Here.
Hallinan.
Here.
Moats.
Here.
Lukasak.
Absent.
Duval.
Here.
If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Council, you should have received a copy of two sets of minutes. First from a regular council meeting on June the 3rd and a special council meeting on June the 10th. Let's do the June 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes first. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve those? So moved by Tom Duval, seconded by Sherry Tice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Those minutes will be recorded as filed. The second set of minutes are from the special council meeting on June the 10th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections to those? Motion to approve by Katie Hedges, seconded by Tom Duval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Those minutes will be recorded. Reports from council members or committee reports. Does any council member have a report? Katie Hedges, the Finance Committee Chair.
Thank you, President Keller. I just wanted to announce again, we will be having a Finance Committee meeting 1 week from today, June 24th, in council chambers at 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much. You know what's on the agenda yet?
There is a housing piece of the
From the NCA?
NCA, and then there's something coming from Mark as well. And then I think, do you have something?
No, I just believe my stuff's addressed in Mark's house.
Okay.
Housekeeping order?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else? Sherry Tice, Strategic Planning Chairperson.
Thank you, President Keller. We had a strategic planning meeting last Tuesday, June 10th, and we have an ordinance on tonight's agenda that came out of that meeting. I will speak to when that comes up. We also had a review of our plan, the Montrose plan that was done in 2023, and the city planner and Tim Colburn were here discussing the residential and commercial developments going on in the city, as well as updates to the park and downtown development. So if anyone is interested and would like the information, that is available on the city's YouTube channel. So,
Great. Thank you very much. Tom Klitschko, the Judicial Committee Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to announce that we will have a judicial meeting next Tuesday to follow finance, currently at 6:30 p.m. And we will be discussing, basically it'll be a follow-up following the preliminary planned unit development and the request to rezone property from low density to plan unit development.
Great, so you're going to address the legislation as a result of tonight's public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom. Anyone else? All right. As Mr. Klitschko just mentioned, prior to tonight's council meeting, we did have a public hearing. We had a public hearing related to a proposed rezone of a piece of property across from Ohio Christian University from a low density residential to planned unit development. And again, Mr. Klitschko's committee will hear that legislation. Reports from city officials that are here tonight as council's guests. We have the law director and the mayor. Kendra, do you have a report?
Just briefly, on behalf of the police department and the fire and EMS, I just wanted to announce the National Night Out is scheduled for August 5th this year. Obviously, that's a community building event that aims to strengthen the relationships between neighbors and law enforcement, as well as first responders, fostering safer communities. It will be held at Ted Lewis Park from 5 to 7. Again, this event, we were able to start last year and will continue on this year. There'll be various entities there. I believe the fire department is bringing a truck. We'll have police vehicles, interaction, hopefully a medical helicopter like we had last year, which was, I thought, very interesting for kids to engage in and for the community to engage within our first responder community. So I just wanted to put the feelers out and announce that date so everybody has that on their calendars. It also is a city council meeting, so that's free activity to come to before our meeting.
Great, thank you very much. Mayor Michelle Blanton.
Thank you, President Keller and members of council. I have a few things. We did receive recognition from America 250 Ohio for the resolution that was passed by this council last year. We will be getting a city-specific logo sent to us by the organization, as well as an American 250 flag. For those of you who may not be familiar with America 250, next year the United States will be celebrating its 250th birthday. And so the state has created a commission that is working with communities throughout the state to celebrate and honor all of the innovative things that we have done in the state of Ohio all year next year. In the month of July, there will be community picnics all over the state. This is a national recognition as well. There is a national organization. If you're interested in looking up more of that, you'll see activities happening at landmarks all across the country. So I wanted to mention that to you, that we did get recognition from them, and we should be seeing those artifacts soon. Last week, I attended the Mayors Association of Ohio conference. It's part of the Ohio Municipal League. There are multiple pieces of legislation before the House and Senate that could impact us. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Anything from increased pension amounts for police and fire to zoning regulations that could impede our ability to have home rule. So please just take a look at that. Other legislation included even in the budget is the tax that is received from marijuana sales and other legislation related to marijuana. So I know we have our moratorium in place that was done in August of last year, and so we'll need to make sure that that's part of our radar. Ohio Changers was here last week. This is a group that is out of West Jeff. This is a group of about 100 kids that came into the community to work all last week. They are in partnership with the First Baptist Church on North Court Street. They went around and they worked on properties throughout the surrounding Circleville area. They actually worked on they were scheduled to work on a house on Stella Avenue. And so they worked on creating or building a new deck on a house there, and worked to do other work at other places throughout the community. So I wanted to recognize them for their service. Everything was provided and done for free to the residents. And so I just wanted to recognize them for their service. We did have the first movie night at Ted Lewis Park on Friday evening. We estimate that we had between 150 and 200 people there. It was a great time for all. Thank you to the Circleville Fire Department and the Circleville Police Department for coming out. Also, thank you to the Service Department, Director of Public Service, Jim Stanley, and our Street Superintendent, Chris Cupp, came out and helped us tear down, and Hannah Wynn was there, as well as Brenda Short, and a list of volunteers that I know I'll forget somebody if I start listing. But please come out. The next one is scheduled for July 11th. The movie is Guardian of the Galaxy. So please come out. It's a fun time for all. We do have a rain date that is the 12th. Lastly, it's Pickaway County Fair Week. I don't know if you've heard, but we did do a proclamation on Sunday, and so please go out to the fair and have a great time. When I was there on Sunday, they had said that the rides had just left Commercial Point on Saturday night at like 10 p.m., and they were all set up ready to go before I got there Sunday afternoon. And so they worked really hard. The director of the Department of Agriculture, Brian Baldridge, was here in town on Sunday. And so he was recognizing, as well as Senator Michelle Reynolds, for the start of the Pickaway County Fair. And that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you very much. Council, have any questions for our elected officials tonight? No? All right, thank you very much. This is the opportunity for the public to address City Council. We welcome public comment. Would anybody like to speak tonight before City Council? No? Melissa, do we have any communications?
Nope.
No communications. That brings us to the business portion of tonight's meeting, the reading of ordinances and resolutions, and we do have some up for third reading, so go right ahead.
An ordinance of the City of Circleville so as to increase the city income tax rate from the current rate of 2% to a rate of 2.5%, to become effective January 1st, 2026, with 1/10% of the increase to be allocated for the purposes of general construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, and repair of the streets, roads, and bridges necessary in the City of Circleville, and 0.4% to be allocated for the purpose of providing and maintaining fire apparatus, mechanical resuscitators, underwater rescue and recovery equipment, or other fire equipment and appliances, buildings and sites thereof, or sources of water supply and materials therefore, for the establishment and maintenance of lines of fire alarm communications, for the payment of firefighting companies or permanent, part-time, or volunteer firefighting emergency medical service, administrative or communications personnel to operate the same, including the payment of any employer contributions required for such personnel under sections 145.48 or 742.34 of the revised code, for the purchase of ambulance equipment, for the provision of ambulance, paramedic, or other emergency medical services operated by a fire department or firefighting company, or for the payment of other related costs, to direct the Pickaway County Board of Elections to submit this ordinance to the electors of the city and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Melissa. Council, that is the third and final reading of this ordinance that originated in the Finance Committee. Katie?
Thank you, President Keller. So to recap, this was discussed at the finance meeting on May 27th. It came as the recommendation from the mayor's office in an effort to address the safety issue that we have with the loss of the levy that expired at the end of December of 2024. It also came on the heels of 3 previous attempts to pass the levy, so that there was not a gap in between. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in all of those efforts. So at the end of 2024, those levy monies stopped. And this was an effort to kind of make up some of those monies that we've lost from the levy that expired, in an effort to continue the level of services that we have done for the community, as well as address the growth that the safety services have experienced in the 5 years since we had the old levy. There has been about a 50% increase of responses needed from safety services. That is outside of any of the additional housing growth and development that we have had. So it came to finance with the recommendation from the mayor of a 0.5% levy, 0.4% of going to fire and EMS, and 0.1 going to the streets. In the finance committee that we had, we did not have full committee members present, and we could not come to terms with agreement of how it was presented at that time. However, we did move it forward to council for further discussion by removing the percentages and allowing council as a whole to discuss it. On the 27th, when we discussed it with the committee, 6 out of 7 council members were present. Everyone was encouraged to ask questions, get any concerns that they had answered, so that all the pertinent information could be gathered for them to answer any concerns they had. Mr. Duval presented a couple of questions that he had. With the help of Captain Kavanaugh, we were able to get those questions answered and sent all to all of council. No other questions were asked at that time or since then. And so this is the third reading, and it has gone through 2 previous readings, and we are asking for passage tonight at the 0.4 for fire and EMS, and 0.1 to go to streets.
Before I entertain a motion, are there any other comments or questions related to this piece of legislation?
I missed the meeting, and that was my fault. Have we had any other, I know the mayor's gonna be looking at where she can do some cost cutting and things to offset this, just in case, but I haven't really heard any details on that yet.
Yeah, so I did already ask for budgets from all of the departments to be submitted as if there were no levies. We start budget meetings this week with each individual department to go over those and to see if there's any additionals. We will treat it as if we have no levy until November.
I think one thing I would add, and I keep forgetting to mention this when we say this, but I think to expand a little bit upon what the mayor said, one of the largest cuts that has been proposed by her department heads has been to the streets. So I think that's one of the reasons that I think I, at least speaking just for myself, supported the addition of this street addition to this levy, because if we don't pass the levy, the streets will take a hit. So our hope is obviously not to do that for the infrastructure continuing to develop throughout the community that's needed.
Tom?
And just to clarify, I had some issues initially with the point 4 and point 1. I totally support the idea of the levy, enthusiastically support the levy, and certainly want to do the will of council, so I totally support the point 4 and the point 1 as well.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
We're all on board.
Is there a motion?
Motion for passage.
Motion for passage by Katie Hedges, seconded by Tom Klitschko. Roll call, please, on the motion for passage.
Hedges.
Yes.
Tice.
Yes.
Klitschko.
Yes.
Hallinan.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Ordinance passes.
This is signed 6/49/2025. A resolution to submit to the electors at the general election to be held on the 4th day of November 2025. An ordinance to increase the city income tax rate from the current rate of 2% to a rate of 2.5%, to become effective January 1st, 2026 by allocating 1/10% of the increase for the purpose of general construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, and repair of the streets, roads, and bridges necessary in the city of Circleville, and allocating 4/10% for the purpose of providing and maintaining fire apparatus, mechanical resuscitators, underwater rescue and recovery equipment, or other fire equipment and appliances, buildings, and sites therefore, or sources of water supply and materials therefore, for the establishment and maintenance of lines of fire alarm communications, for the payments of firefighting companies or permanent part-time or volunteer firefighting, emergency medical services, administrative or communications personnel to operate the same, including the payment of any employer contributions required for such personnel under section 145.48 or 742.34 of the revised code, for the purchase of ambulance equipment, for the provision of ambulance, paramedic, or other emergency medical services operated by a fire department or other firefighting company, or for the payment of other related costs, to direct the Pickaway County Board of Elections to submit this tax ordinance to the electors of the city and declaring an emergency.
Council, you've heard the third and final reading of this resolution. Katie?
Thank you, President Keller. So this is the companion resolution to the previous ordinance that actually allows it to go to the Board of Elections. One reminder I would say is, unfortunately, the city is not permitted to develop the wording associated with how it appears on the ballot. That is a function of the Secretary of State, I believe. But this does allow it to go to the elector.
And additionally, the resolution will need to have the previous ordinance that was passed. You will see that there are blanks drawn in that resolution. That is to fill in those numbers because the ordinance has to pass first, and then the resolution is the order to the Board of Elections to place it on the ballot. And the procedure is it will go to the Board of Elections. They will forward it they will sign off, they will forward it to county prosecutor. County prosecutor will sign off and then forward it to the Secretary of State, who will then make the final determination for the wording. The wording that was specifically chosen is defined from the Ohio Revised Code. It is the most exhaustive list. I would probably anticipate it's going to be shortened, but I wanted everybody, and I specifically wanted council and any community member to see what provisions would be covered by the passage of the levy and what that money is and should be spent on.
Great, thank you, Kendra.
Motion for passage?
Motion for passage by Jeff Hallinan, seconded by John Moat. Roll call, please.
Hedges.
Yes.
Tice.
Yes.
Klitschko.
Yes.
Hallinan.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
This is signed 6/50/2025.
Melissa, if we read the next one. This will take a second, and I want to tell the safety forces that are here, the policemen and the firemen, the fire ladies that are here, thank you for being here. The director's here as well. I appreciate you being here. You've been coming to several meetings. Look forward to seeing it in the future. We got a campaign ahead of us and work to do to get this out to the community and get a passage. But I personally want to tell you from my desk, I appreciate you all being here very much.
Thank you.
Next.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a capital improvement community park recreation conservation project pass-through grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to provide grant funds to construct recreational facilities as part of the Barthelmess Park Walking Trail and Softball Diamond Expansion Project and declaring an emergency.
Council, you've heard the first reading of this ordinance from the Strategic Planning Committee. Sharon?
Thank you, President Keller. Yes, this did come from the Public Service Director. This is in response to a grant that the city got for $750,000 This allows this money to come into the city and us to use it. The purpose is going to be to start the project out at Barthelmess, the first softball diamond. They hope to have 4 ultimately, but this will do the first one and some more parking, I believe, and some trails, so.
Great. Anything else?
I have a quick question. Will this require extra money from the city in addition to the $750,000?
I don't believe there's a match on this.
There's no requirements whatsoever.
No, this came from the extra funds that were provided through the state legislature last year, such as the All Future Funds or additional capital projects that were in the budget.
Okay, good, because I just didn't want to get any, in the way of any monies for the safety forces that we need, so.
Thank you. Good question. Is there a motion?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules by Sherry Tice, seconded by Katie Hedges. Roll call, please, on the motion to suspend council rules.
Hedges.
Yes.
Tice.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Hallinan.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Council, you're free to act on the ordinance.
Motion for passage?
Motion for passage by Sherry Tice, seconded by Tom Duval. Roll call, please, on the motion for passage.
Hedges.
Yes.
Tice.
Yes.
Bliska.
Yes.
Hallinan.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
The ordinance passes.
Is assigned 6/51/2025. That's it.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Council, we're at the new business portion of tonight's meeting. Do we have any new business?
Motion to excuse Audrey Lukasak?
Motion by Sherry Tice to excuse Councilperson Audrey Lukasak, seconded by John Moats. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Wait a minute.
adjourn.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing real quick.
Yes.
I should have followed this up when you talk about the fair, but the Pickwick County Fair sale is this Saturday, starting at 9:30. So all the local kids that are participating in the 4-H will have their sale this weekend. So if you get a chance to get out there and support those kids, that'd be great.
That's a great point.
Jeff, motion to adjourn, seconded by John Moats. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
City Council is adjourned at 7:22 PM. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.